All right, guys, so I hope you enjoyed that first bit there. I can't wait to read your first quick writes. In case you're wondering, sadly enough, I kind of agree a little bit more with Thomas Hobbes. I know, isn't that sad? I just think people are so naturally selfish. Like, why do we teach our kids to share their toys? How come they don't just naturally share with each other? I kind of feel like we are a little bit evil to begin with. Okay, evil might be a strong word, but we're definitely selfish, to say the least. So, anyways, so let's start talking about Voltaire. Voltaire with the hair. I know, isn't he great? Anyways, so François-Marie Arouet, which I'm probably saying wrong because I took Spanish in high school, but he was one of the most famous writers of the Enlightenment. In fact, he wrote something hilarious I read my senior year of English, guys. Oh my gosh. It was called Candide. It's this tiny, Candide. It was this tiny little book, and it was full of satire and sarcasm, and I mean, there was like a prostitute in it with one buttock, and at one point a guy accidentally drinks some horse pee or something like that. I'm telling you, you just trust me, okay? It was hilarious. If you're ever like in for a funny classic read, it's short, sweet, to the point. I think we did like 1 week on it or something, but it was awesome. So, anyways, despite the fact that that he wrote that insane book, Voltaire also argued for certain liberties, freedom of speech and religion. He started to criticize intolerance, prejudice, and oppression. He was truly ahead of his time. Voltaire was actually jailed twice in France for criticizing the government, but his letters to European monarchs helped introduce new reforms and liberties. He actually had some pretty close relationships with some of our absolute monarchs of the day, which I know is kind of like strange to say, but still. Okay? So, this is one of my all-time favorite quotes of, like, ever. I have really two, but this is one of them. Voltaire once said, "I may disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it." He was truly someone who believed in the ideas of having your own rights, having your own voice, at any cost, really. He really was kind of that way. He also was what we call a deist. He was someone who did not believe in God. He did believe in a higher power of someone who created us, kind of like if you think of like a watchmaker, someone who makes a watch would have it run on its natural laws of physics and everything with all of its little gears. He kind of believed that God did that, or a higher power even, that just kind of set the world in motion on its natural laws and walked away. So he believed that it was very important that human beings treat each other properly because God's not there to save you in his mind. Okay? So my question for you for your quick write, right, is right here. When, if ever, should our freedom of speech be restricted? Okay? I want you to really consider that. Consider schools and television, radio, wartime, and any other things that you can think of in your quick write piece. Okay? Pause if you need. I am going to move on just for sake of recording time. Okay? But pause if you need for that quick write. Thanks, guys. Now we move on to Mr. Cocker Spaniel. I'm telling you what, I love these wigs, guys. The Baron de Montesquieu, or Montesquieu as I will call him from here on out. Oh, dang, I should probably change my executive picture now. I'm thinking about it, but oh well, too late, I'm recording. But agreed with John Locke that the government should protect individual liberties and that too much power led to tyranny. Okay? So Montesquieu thought that really the root of all of our problems were with power, right? Which, shocker there. But the problem is, he said that some people in our government had too much power. So like our monarch having all the power brought forth the problems, right? So he said what we should do is divide power among three branches of government: our legislative, our executive, and our judicial. Okay? Very sorry, I should probably update basically all three of these. But anyways, yeah, I know. Come on, get with the times, Mrs. Lindemeyer. But obviously, our legislative branch makes our laws. Our executive branch carries out our laws, and our judicial, they are the ones who evaluate and make sure our laws, at least in this nation, are constitutional. Because yes, we did take Montesquieu's ideas. His idea was that we should have a system of checks and balances. This should look really familiar to you, so I won't take too long explaining it. But I have examples here. These are like checks and balances. That sounds like I learned that maybe in 8th grade. You can look through here if you'd like to see some of the examples. But that checks and balances, he said, but make sure that no one branch of the government had too much power, which was a good idea, okay? Obviously, we took it, so it must be good. Just joking. So anyways, we'll continue on with the Swiss philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau. And he also believed in this idea of the state of nature and therefore individual freedom, okay? Essentially, he thought that if we were all dropped onto a deserted island, okay, that it would be something like we would be okay because of the fact that we weren't in society. He really thought that civilization was what corrupted people's natural goodness, okay? So I know you're like, wait, that does sound like Lost. Oh man, I hope I'm not dating myself with Lost. Probably am. It's okay. But Rousseau believed that people are naturally good, but power was what really corrupts them. So if we free people from, form a social contract, I told you we're going to come back to that idea, and the government is based on like a common good, okay? So that's why we come up with a social contract and give up some of our freedoms to the government. But Rousseau was a little bit different. He's our guy that actually argues for a direct democracy, okay? A government, oh sorry, I kind of spoiled that question earlier, but, excuse me, take a quick drink. Oh gosh, I love water. But our form of government that is guided by the will of the majority of our citizens, okay? Which of course causes a little bit of a problem if you think about it. So direct democracy is really a nice idea, but if there's always the same majority and there's usually the same minority, then the majority is always going to win. And that ends up causing what we like to call in political science class, a tyranny of the majority, okay? So it's kind of difficult to decide which one's the best because the three branches of the government doesn't always work the way that it should either. So you really got to decide on your own. In fact, quick right number 3. Which form of the government is better? Do you think Montesquieu's ideas of the separation of power is better or Rousseau's direct democracy? Okay? So I have them a little bit outlined here for you. Remember to be continuing to put them in your hand, right? Put the thinker, put what they believe, and then make sure you flip over for your quick right number 3. All right? I'm going to keep going, and this guy, I'm going to just totally warn you, okay? So if you need to, pause. But Beccaria is not on your hand. You don't have to worry about him. It's just kind of interesting. So there was actually an Italian philosopher, Beccaria, and he turned his thoughts toward the justice system. He actually believed that laws existed to preserve social order, not to avenge crimes, okay? And he was really upset because at this time, as you could probably imagine, there was a lot of torture, right? There were corrupt judges, there were secret trials as opposed to having public ones where they would almost always be found guilty, and there were like some severe punishments for crimes. And he said the degree of punishment should really just be based on the seriousness of the crime. So he's the first person to kind of look at that. And he 100% totally believed that capital punishment should be abolished completely. He based his ideas about justice on the principle that the government should seek the greatest good for the greatest number of people. And his ideas really influenced a lot of criminal law reformers in Europe and North America as time went on. Okay, so I want for you to write, do you agree with Beccaria? Okay, is capital punishment, execution, an acceptable form of punishment for crimes? Why or why not? Why do you think that? Okay, so again, pause if you need to. I'm going to keep on moving. Okay, this is our last part, and this is the reason why I wanted your palm to be empty. Okay. On your Enlightenment hand, I want for you to write a paragraph. Come on, at least 5 sentences, guys. A summary of which you believe to be the most important or relevant idea that was presented here, and why. Okay, with a detailed explanation. Why is it important to you? Why is it important to our society as a whole? Why do you think that importance is still important, if that makes any sense? How has this continued on to today's society? Okay. I'm going to stop this one here. We have one more for the impact of the Enlightenment. I promise I'll make it really fast But why do we talk about it? Why is it important in the first place? I think it's important for us to talk about historically. Okay? Let me know if you have any questions, and I thank you again for all your attention, my friends.